Hey guys, this is Accounting Nightmare. I'm here with another commentary guide let's play thing. This one's for the second boss in Heart of Fear. It's Blade Lord Tayak, or Tayak, not sure how to say that. It's a pretty fun boss. It's just, he was quite buggy when we were first doing him, so I've still got a bit of a bad impression of him. But his phase 2 is really cool and interesting. This is just phase 1 though. This takes up most of the fight. He switches to phase 2 at 20%. So in phase 1, he basically shoots tornadoes at people. You'll see there's one right next to me. He fires them at wherever a random player is standing. It's only ranged and healers, so your melee and tanks don't have to worry. Unless someone's standing in the wrong spot, of course. And these tornadoes, they stay around for the entire rest of this phase. So you're going to run out of room, and of course if you touch them, they throw you around and do damage, so you don't want that. So what we do is we start off fighting him in the corner of this room, and then we move to the centre after a little bit. It just gives us a bit more room to play with, and it buys us a bit of time. So there's a couple other mechanics going on here. Probably the main one is Unseen Strike. That's the nastiest ability he has. Every so often he vanishes, and then he puts a red arrow on someone's head. And there it is. After a little bit he reappears and he hits that person for a crapload of damage. It will one-shot people, but thankfully the damage is split between everyone who's standing near that person. So the idea is just when he does Unseen Strike, you all stack up in the centre, and that makes it a lot more manageable. The place where you actually stand, it's kind of weird. He does sort of like a cone in the direction he's facing. Some people are able to figure out which way it's going to go very easily, but I can't. I just try and stand on the red arrow and hopefully it all works out for the best. After that you want to spread out immediately because of another thing he does, which is called Wind Step. Every so often he appears at a random player, whacks them, and then goes back to the tank immediately. You'll see there he goes. He puts a debuff on that person. It's called Wind Step. And it just does damage over time. It's nothing too nasty. But the trick is if two people are standing too close to each other, it goes on both of them. And if you've got a whole group standing together, it hits every one of them. So one Wind Step is really easy to heal, but if 5 people have it, that's pretty insane. So you want to spread out. So yeah, it's one of those fights where you spread out, you stack up for a certain thing, and then you spread back out again. I like those kind of fights. One other thing he's doing is a debuff on the tank called Overwhelming Assault. He hits them for not a whole lot of damage, but he does give them a debuff which makes them take a lot more damage from the next one. So it's a tank swap sort of thing. Every now and then though, a tank will have to take one, even though he already has the debuff. Yeah, you're going to want to pop some cooldowns there and make sure the tank's topped up, because if that does an insane amount of damage, if a tank has to do that, make sure he calls out so that the healers know. And apart from that, it's sort of like a DPS race. He's slowly putting a buff on himself called Intensify, which makes him do more and more damage. And we did have trouble with the enrage timer on our first kills, so this is a bit of a DPS race. And you want to pop, if you're going to pop Hymn of Hope or Potion of Focus, you're going to want to do that in between Unseen Strikes. If you get really unlucky, he might decide to do a tornado on your head when you're doing that, and you just have to break your potion and run out the way. That's really unfortunate if that happens, but hopefully it does not. So the boss does, you can see that's sort of an outline of him before he actually strikes the person. And from that you can figure out which way the strike's going to go, and you can sort of manipulate which way you go flying. But I haven't been able to figure that out myself. But if you can, then that's awesome. Do that. At 20%, that's when he switches phases. And that's the point where you want to make sure everyone's topped up, because everyone's about to take a ton of damage. And this boss was quite buggy, as I said. Sometimes after doing Unseen Strike, he would then just melee a random person and just kill them. And another really nasty thing he does is if you hit the phase transition when Unseen Strike is going out, He will still do that while you're in the tornadoes, and that's pretty much a wipe. Even if everyone was topped up, you're pretty going to die before you get to the end. Yeah, so here's the phase transition. Going into phase 2. He goes to one end and he fires us all to the other end with tornadoes. And from here it's sort of like a little tornado gauntlet. You want everyone to pop health stones right here, or you can just sit around and heal everyone up for a little bit. Make sure you have a plan in mind though. We pop health stones and then start running. And we use the druid sort of AoE roar to make us all run faster. And any movement speed things you've got, that's cool too. And yeah, the entire raid just takes tons of damage at this point. It's kind of ludicrous. Healing on the run, you can try it, but if you're having trouble dodging the tornadoes, don't. Dodging the tornadoes is #1 priority. If you get hit by one, it'll pull you back by quite a bit and it'll do damage to you the entire time, so only do a heal on the run if you know you can get away with it. Other than that, don't risk it. And at 10%, he will actually go in reverse direction. He's about to move. Yeah, there he goes. And then the tornadoes start coming back towards us. And we had another lovely bug where we once had an entire row of 3 tornadoes coming towards us, and there was no way to avoid them. That was a yeah, that was a wipe. But I think one of them was actually just a display bug, because some people were able to run right through them without taking damage. I haven't seen that again though since, so hopefully they've fixed that, because that was pretty awful. At the end there, in order to avoid the tornadoes, the best thing to do is to wait for one to spawn, and then use that lane to get up to the boss, because he will never spawn one in the same lane twice in a row. And this is the best part of the fight, to use your AoE healing cooldowns, because the healing isn't really intensive during phase 1 or anything. This is the best time to do it, especially if you can do it on the run with that chamois ability. That's pretty cool. Our druid uses symbiosis on the chamois, and then she can do tranquility on the run, so that's awesome. And there you go. And that was Blade Lord Tayak. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.